Howdy, howdy, Chris here. Welcome back to the garage. Today we're starting on a new project and we're going to be repairing and repainting this 1991 Dodge Stealth. It's got some damage on the driver's door here and the quarter panel. It took a hit on this quarter and door and pushed it in, so we're going to be straightening the metal. We'll be working with body filler and we'll be repainting the side of this vehicle. If you're new to the channel, I've been doing auto body and paint repair for over 30 years. I've developed my own procedures and processes in that time frame, and my goal is to share those with you so you can avoid making mistakes as you're repairing or restoring your vehicle. So the first thing we want to do is to get this jam back into shape. So when it took the hit on the quarter panel, it buckled the inside of this jam, and that edge right there is sunk in. It should be level, but it's got a little dip to it. We need to weld a tab on this buckle and pull this section out. Hopefully that'll bring the jam with it, and then everything will fit properly. When you're repairing something like this, you need to evaluate the damage, see where it's kinked, pull those kinks out first, get those into shape, and then you can evaluate it, see if you can do body work, repair it, or if you need to replace panels. So we're going to weld this on here or here. Probably here first, and then this slides into here, and then we can slide hammer or pull this out. There we go. And slide this in here like this. Now we'll see if we can pull that out. Okay, so we're gonna hook this up right here like that. Get there. All right, slowly, keep going, slowly. Just go easy. Okay, so if you look down it, see how this is flat now? That was pushed in. So it's pretty close. This goes in a little bit there. See how straight it is down there? You always want to over pull it just a little bit. The car's sliding now, so. All right, let's let her down. Move this tab, put it down here. Just pull a little bit more, get this area pulled out just a little bit. Looks like we got this all pulled out. Now the door lines up really nice. With this repair, I was debating whether to replace this door. I actually purchased the door, but I think that we can actually pull this dent out pretty easy. It does have some damage in this jam here, but I can straighten this out. On these older doors, I'd much rather repair them than replace them. Start tearing this door down and things start to break, and then you have parts that you might not be able to replace. When you're repairing a dent like this, it's important to get a good idea of how you're going to attack it. Are you going to pull it out? Are you going to push it out? Are you going to have to do a combination of both? And how well you're going to be able to access the backside of the dent. When I first took a look at this dent, I really wanted to kind of push it out from the backside as much as possible, but I knew I wasn't going to have complete access from back there. So we stripped off the door panel. I knew I was going to have to use the G90E here to pull out the majority of the dent. So what I did is I ground some small little areas, try to get that dent to pop out as much as possible. It really wasn't cooperating, so we had to grind it down to bare metal. I'm going to have to use the G90E to pull most of this dent out. If you're unfamiliar with the G90E is a tool I purchased off of Amazon, and basically it's like a stud welder with a handle on it and a slide hammer. So you weld this tip onto the low area of the dent and you pull or you slide hammer that dent out. Works really well. It's an inexpensive tool. There are more expensive models of this kind of tool. This tool is around $300. You can spend, $3,000 or more for these kind of tools. Now, it's not the perfect tool, but it works well for smaller dents like this. Okay, so we got the majority of this dent out. Now, this dent had a lot of flex to it. After we pulled it out, it still had a lot of flex. So what we had to do is we took that G90E and we would weld onto the low spot. I would pull on it, we would tap around that spot and tighten up the metal. It also had a little ridge at the backside of this door that we tapped down as we put tension on the metal. Now we did over pull it just a little bit, so we're going to have to dolly that straight, but we got all the body lines back into shape. The metal is tight and firm, and that's very important. If you have any flex in your repair area, it's going to be very difficult to get that bodywork straight. Okay, so we got this all straightened out. We just got a little bit of metal work to do here. We're going to use a hammer and a dolly, straighten this out. I'll probably use a flat spoon to knock down any high spots here. We had to pull out this body line, and then basically what we did is I'd use the G90E right here to pull out any low spots, and then I tap around it to tighten up that metal, raise that low spot, tighten up the metal. And then we had a ridge right here that we had to tap down as we pulled this dent out. That also tightened up the metal. And then we had to pull this body line out to tighten this metal up as well. So that's how we did it. We got it nice and firm. I know that this metal is high. Okay, we pulled it out just a little bit too far. We need to get this dolly behind it, and we're going to use this slapper and knock it down. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this steel blue layout liquid on it, and then that's going to show us all our high and low areas, help us to just get this metal straight. We're going to get it as straight as we can before we put a little bit of filler on it. So my main concern is I want to get it pushed in enough that filler is going to fill all those little low areas. But this works so much better for metal. So you just spread it on here. I got a couple different files here that we'll use to find the high and low areas in this metal. So with these files, this is a coarse file here that I'll just drag across the panel, and this will shave down some of the metal and it'll expose those high areas. This here is a slapper file. So you can use this as a slapper tool to knock down the high areas. I can also use this as a file to file down the metal and show us those high and low areas. You could also just use a block with some coarse sandpaper. You can see the high spots here. I mean, I can feel them. So we're just going to try and flatten out this metal. Here's where I'm going to use the hammer and dolly. So what I want to do is put this dolly behind this panel. Now I have limited access, so it's a little bit difficult. I'm not going to be able to reach every area with this dolly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this dolly on those high areas, and I'm going to slap right on that dolly and flatten out those high areas. So that's what I'm working on. That's called on the dolly. If you want to go off the dolly, what you do is put the dent. If you have a dent, you would put the dolly on the center of the dent from the backside, and you would slap around that dolly, off the dolly, to raise that dent up and level it out. All right, so we got some 180 on here. So we're just going to hold it flat. As this ink goes away, we know this metal's getting straighter and straighter. I'm working on these two little high spots right here, okay? That's what we're working on right now. Let's go over it with this. We'll see if any more of that ink disappears. It's getting better. See that? Here I'll use the G90E to weld on those low spots. I'll pull on those low spots as I tap down the high spots around it. That'll level out that metal. And I can find the low spots because of this layout ink. Now you could also use like a flat black spray paint on metal as a guide coat. That works well too. It's an inexpensive way to do it.
Okay, so now that we have the metal shaped the way we want it, I'm going to use my orbital sander with some 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to feather edge this paint out so we have a nice smooth transition, because we are going to apply our filler over the edge of that paint. Before we apply our filler, we need to test fit this door handle, make sure everything lines up properly. That right on the bottom edge of that door handle, it was pushed in a little bit there, so we need to make sure that's out far enough we don't have any excessive gaps.
Okay, we're ready to mix up some filler for this. We checked the fitment of the door handle, and the door handle fits fantastic. We're just going to put a thin coat over this. We'll block it out and we'll see how straight it is. On the first coat, we just want to fill the low areas, so we're going to put a thin coat over it. We'll shape it. I want to share with you how to mix up some filler. So I'm going to use this U-Pole Lightweight Gold. That filler right there is a little bit older, so I'm going to add a little bit of the plastic resin so we get a little bit smoother finish. This filler is actually really good though, especially for the price. It's very reasonably priced. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. This is what they call plastic honey. You can add this to your filler to thin it out just a little bit, make it smoother. Really does a good job. I don't want to add too much. I'll mix this up first. Now when I'm mixing this up, I'm just going to fold it in. We fold it in so we don't introduce air. We want to eliminate those air pockets because that causes pinholes, creates more work for you. Knead up your hardener so you don't get any, because this does separate in the tube. A judgment call from the center. That's going to be plenty. We're going to mix it over at the car. Let's mix this up till it's all one uniform color. Pressing out the air. I'm going to get a little bit on my spreader like that. I am going over the edge of the paint. And first pass we press it in so we get good adhesion. Second pass we kind of ease up on the pressure. And kind of smooth it in, you know. I don't want to go right up to this. I should have taped that off, but I didn't. So we'll just have to be careful. I'm going to lay some in here like this. And now we're just going to spread it over this panel. There's a little something. Now I'm easing up on the pressure here. There's quite a low area right here, so we're going to build that up a little bit.
I do have a PDF file on metal shaping set up on my Shopify store. That's garagenoisegear.com. This walks you through step by step the entire process, everything I covered in this video, and much, much more. I also have files on spraying clear, on different types of primer, and how to paint high metallic finishes, so check those out. Those are a fantastic resource if you're repairing or restoring your vehicle. Don't miss the next episode on body filler when we talk about how to mix it, how to apply it, how to shape it, and how to get it straight so you can have a perfect repair from home. I appreciate you watching. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise.